And in that same way, I feel like, brand marketing is getting harder because the consumers, particularly digital consumers, are evolving as well. They're seeing advertising everywhere. It's annoying to them when not done correctly, and it's almost like an exchange of value, right?
So I don't want to do like an intro because I think that's just too cliche and all that, and we're gonna get right to it. Okay, Tony, you're the first guest on this podcast slash video series that I'm doing. And just let the people know who you are. Like, what do you do in esports, and why do you think it's important that I'm talking to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm that important,
I
but
mean,
I feel like I do have a lot of experience now. For me, just giving a quick background on who I am and what I do. Right now, I am a senior project manager at Zero Code, which is a gaming focused agency for brands. So we work with the biggest brands in gaming and esports. With Mountain Dew, specifically, with Game Fuel. We work with Nissan. We work with the U.S. Army. We work with Boston Beer, and we work with a number of other properties. So we're a small team within a larger advertising agency called Omnicom, and Omnicom is a top 2 North American advertising agency. So it's like really awesome being part of that, a larger group, and the connections and the network that you get being part of that. But also, it's great being this like specialized team that is specifically working on gaming, and we get to like focus on what we're good at. So that's what I do right now. How did I get here? I was a gaming enthusiast my entire life. I've been a lifelong gamer. I spend still a ton of time playing games, and I think what it really came down to is I started a gaming club in college just for fun, just to like find other like-minded people to interact with, to build a community. And at that time, I didn't even think it could become a career. But the really like the aha moment came to me when I just unexpectedly got an internship working at Riot Esports during my junior year of college. And I went there and I helped them build out the Toronto Summer Finals, which was a really eye-opening experience for me, being able to see the amount of like excellent professionals that work in the space, and the audience, and really be able to pull off something that large scale that says, wow, maybe this is a huge career opportunity for me. So from there on, I went to work at OpTic Gaming, and with Outlaws, within Infinite. I worked on their sales team, helping them negotiate deals, helping them execute the deals, creating the content, working with players, working with content creators, in order to like create, the contents, the social posts, the advertisements for those brands. Brands I worked with, just off the top of my head, DX Racer, Turtle Beach, Scuff Gaming. With Outlaws, we worked with T-Mobile, like, and a couple other brands out there. Near the end, we worked with Nissan. We worked with Mountain Dew Game Fuel, who I actually help actively manage now.
that's awesome.
So yeah, over at OpTic and Outlaws, that's where I got involved, and now I work on the brand side. Just having that experience on the team side, it helps me help come up with these campaigns for brands that are effective in targeting the gaming and esports audience. We're part of a top 2, I believe, North American marketing or essentially advertising agency. We're like a small team within like a 1,000+ employee global company, which still feels kind of crazy, but yeah, we're just like working with brands, massive brands like Mountain Dew, like Nissan, U.S. Army, Boston Beer most recently, and we're seeing more and more brands get involved and interested in the space because they understand that gaming and esports is at the forefront of what entertainment is going to be in both now and in the future, right? People like to pull a lot of like comparisons between like the box office versus gaming, and they look at like revenues and they look at audience, and to a certain extent sometimes those numbers are like out of context. I feel like just like kind of they like to throw big numbers in your face.
What do you mean by that?
Like when people sell in brands, sometimes they'll present like global numbers that include
Yeah,
like the numbers of like gaming and esports in like Asia, right? But I do
yeah,
believe the United States is like what top two or top three in like at least gaming revenue. So
yeah.
it's not like esports definitely is very far behind here compared to over in Asia, but gaming definitely
Yeah, I feel like
is a huge part of culture and entertainment, right?
yeah, I think on the esports, like the competitive actual esports side, the US and like North America is pretty far behind. Even like I feel like Europe is a little bit more ahead, mostly with the infrastructure that's there, such as Blast Pro, consistent and IEM as well as ESL and LEC always running events there. Counter Strike having such a longevity there. It's a regular thing there. And here it's like we're slowly starting to get there. Right, COD is making a big impact with the success of the CDL and what they're trying to do. Overwatch Homesteads becoming more unpopular. Obviously, all of that was kind of slowed down due to the pandemic, but you're kind of seeing it kick back up. And
Yeah, I think.
I like how you
Sorry.
mentioned that a bunch. No, it's all good. It's all good. I like how you mentioned that a lot of these brands notice that this is on the forefront, of like what entertainment is becoming. Less people are paying attention to their TV. They're turning to the internet. They're turning to platforms like YouTube, Twitch, rest in peace, Mixer, whatever you want to call it in between. And that's where their attention is, and their attention is to these games. They're just as passionate about these titles as they are these teams, as much as they are for like traditional sports. There's people dumping thousands of dollars on their favorite team because that's what they like to do, and they're interested in that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first got into this industry, I thought esports was like the end all be all of what I ever wanted to do. But the more I worked in this industry, the more I realized that esports is just a very small sub segment
Yeah.
of gaming, and gaming was essentially where the real stakes were.
Yeah.
Um,
I always
just
compare esports as like the pinnacle of gaming. Like you have motorsports, right? This broad range of it's an easy comparison due to just how niche both things, well, pseudo niche you can say. It's like you have motorsports as a whole into different categories, and then you have esports and gaming as a whole as different categories. And esports kind of like takes up this little part where it's motorsports has this longer casual audience of people that enjoy like motocross, biking, all this stuff. And there's just the traditional like overlap. So for people that aren't really too familiar with like what's the difference between gaming and esports, that's the comparison I always go to. And like the premier like events, I just compare it always to Formula One. And then people are most of the time like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or like NASCAR for some of my American peers that it's like, listen, if you like cars and all that stuff, think of liking cars and auto stuff, that's like gaming. And then liking NASCAR is like liking esports. And people are like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, it's a bad analogy, honestly, I won't lie, but it works for some people.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What
It
was
may,
the
I don't have that same connection because I grew up just like thinking, gaming was the only thing I really paid attention to. I think
yeah.
a lot of what does it for these brands, of course, there's a lot of factors, but one of the larger factors is that a lot of these audiences cannot be reached through traditional media. Like
Yeah.
these people don't care about sports. They don't watch linear TV. They don't listen to the radio. Um, they spend a vast majority of their time either playing games or consuming games content on like platforms like Twitch, YouTube, even new upcoming platforms like TikTok, and that's where you can reach these people, and that's where you gain credibility with this new young audience, right? I feel
Yeah.
like our generation was like at the forefront, like we're the early adopters of gaming and esports as like a very primary form of entertainment. um, I feel like gaming is still like the biggest thing that you don't know about if you're not involved type thing. Like I'll tell people and they'll still like have no idea. Like before it was like, yeah, is that the Nintendo and the Mario? And now it's, oh yeah, the League of Legends World Championships and the Dota and the Fortnite and the Booga,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
we're getting there in the mainstream culture to people that don't care about it, which should tell you how much further we're getting to the people who do care about it. So,
Yeah. Dude, I
yeah, I mean,
remember when was it? I think it was Heroes of the Dorm was on ESPN, and I just remember this is like what 2016 or something like that. I'll have to check. But I remember that it being on ESPN, and people were just blasting ESPN on Twitter, just like what is this? What are these
everything.
games? What are these
Like, what the
teenagers
fuck is
doing?
this?
Right? And now like it feels like every other person knows what Twitch is, knows what who Booga is, who Ninja is. It's like it's way more common, and I feel like where esports has created a very unique environment for advertisers and for brands is that social media aspect. You know, now you see a bunch of traditional brands like the Buffalo Bills doing creative posts engaging their traditional sponsors on Twitter, which was a few years ago, 5 years ago, that wasn't a thing. It was all focused about in venue. Now you have basketball teams doing like, game day walkouts presented by Oakley, stuff like that. Like that was all, before a big part of esports. We sold those initial brands on like, hey, you could do this, engage people through social media activations and stuff like that. And now you see traditional. It's like cool seeing this like overwrap and like translation of like getting people invested rather than you just pumping a commercial or having your brand plastered on the side of a baseball wall. But
yeah, I feel like going back to the previous question, just
Sure.
real quick, adding on to that, I
I
feel
know we
like
teetered off. Yeah.
no, all good. I feel like gaming and esports is really like within. There's about to be like a generational shift because the people that are like a generation after us, the Zoomers, I feel like they've grown up in this like digital native area, and regardless of their gender, their age, or well, age, I guess it doesn't matter. But like these younger kids who have now grown up as digital natives, like they speak the language and they play the games. Like so many people, like I would say, like the majority of people within our generation don't play games, and I feel like we're gonna get to a point where the majority of people actually do play games, right? And that's where I think you'll see the big generational shift in where gaming and esports becomes significantly mainstream is when those people get to our age or become young adults, and that way that is the most relevant thing to young people. Whereas I feel like we grew up and our parents grew up in an age where everyone played sports, everyone watched TV, everyone was hyped about I still think a lot of people are hyped about the Super Bowl, but if you look at the younger generation, I feel like the things that they're excited about and the type of entertainment that they spend their time on is starting to shift more towards games, right? Like you look at the cultural phenomenon that was Fortnite, where you had people who were gamers and people who weren't even gamers coming together and playing together because of how big this was as a hub for entertainment. And you look at these things like Minecraft, like Roblox, like these kids are growing up on these very gaming focused platforms, and that's where they're spending all their time.
Yeah, it's almost
Particularly
like
like
a
with
social.
COVID and the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Now that they're growing up in that environment, I feel like it just sets us up to have like a major culture shift once they grow a little older.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned Roblox, Minecraft, Discord. These platforms create more social environments for these kids, and rather than hanging out with the kids that you normally would go to soccer club with or practice with, it's just, hey, I'm hanging out with my friends online to connect with them.
Yeah, it almost creates like an environment where you get more of like a worldview because of the variety of people you can interact with, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in like, in like the suburbs of like, Michigan. The variety of people that I can interact with is pretty limited. But the people that I've met over the internet around the world have given me such like a perspective at a younger age that I think a lot of people don't get. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
and
really
I
eye
think that
opening.
like yeah, it's like it just makes the world a little more interconnected. Um, I think that's also another shift you see with younger generations, as that they're getting like almost like a larger worldview because of how digital they are.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
Going back to your other point though about Sorry, we're jumping around.
Dude,
We're
it's
jumping
fine.
around.
It's fine. This isn't like a scripted thing, you know. It's just like we go, you know. Whatever happens, happens, you know.
Yeah, I think like looking at going back to your other point about sports teams now doing these digital activations and being more involved on social platforms. I think that's very interesting because when I first joined the OpTic team, we were selling people off of the fact that we had a larger like social following than like the New York Yankees or like it's crazy to think that these history brands that are like hundreds of years or well I wouldn't even say that hundreds of
I think
years
the
old but
Yankees are
like
100 years old. I
like
think
about
so.
100 years of history
Yeah.
um and we have a larger social following. So I mean a lot of that is starting to change, right? You see a lot of these sports execs coming to gaming to like spread their knowledge from the sports industry and use that to further gaming. But I think in a certain way you'll see like these digital first marketers go over to the sports side and also make that more interesting because if you look at the average age of like particularly sports like baseball, like they're getting up there, like the average age is like 50, 60.
Yeah, yeah.
um those sports need like new blood, and you're not going to reach those people by going linear, by going to traditional advertising. um you have to find a way to make it more exciting. Like, particularly, I think what sports has done more recently is embraced like the culture of personalities and influencers. Like a lot of these sports stars are starting to pay a lot more attention to their social media, their Twitter, their Instagram, the way they engage with like interviews with media,
Mhm.
and a lot of them even getting involved in the gaming space
Yeah.
because that's what connects them to their fans, their younger fans that you know need something other than you're good at this sport
I
to
when when
feel a
when
connection.
when you brought up the you know athletes that are like interconnected on different levels, I immediately thought of Trevor May, who plays for the New York Mets, and now he like streams. He plays with like Ninja, Doctor Lupo all the time, and then Lando Norris, who's the McLaren F1 driver, who has like an insane Twitch following, and even started his own esports team or like kind of group called Team Quadrant. They've actually got some pretty good content out there too. But it's interesting seeing this like dynamic crossover. And then COD did a bunch of Warzone events where they had celebrities in and they had some bunch of viral moments. So it's really cool seeing how that's come in, but also how these athletes are now building content teams around themselves to create YouTube content, to create Twitter content. They pay people to follow them around with their phone and record Instagram stuff. It's like crazy. Like you can make a career out of like working with celebrities by doing that and make pretty good money. I'd say we'll get to an age there where there'll be agencies that literally like you want a content team around your stuff. All right, this is what's gonna cost. So I don't know. It's a very interesting shift, and like it's weird having grown up on like YouTube's creators like trying to think of like Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, individuals that like creative vlog content or video content, and now that's being such a normalized thing, especially with phone qualities becoming so good. You could record pretty good content from your phone, and just people will like it. So it's
Yeah,
interesting to see
I
that
mean,
shift.
I think a lot of it goes down to accessibility,
Yeah.
right? Like one of the biggest growth factors of gaming personalities online is that they're just so accessible. I remember in the early days, people would literally live stream their entire life to the audience, right? There were like a number of creators who've done that, and I'm glad that they've kind of taken a little step back because people need like their boundaries from their
Yeah.
online audience. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that accessibility, that those influencers and those sports stars being willing to share more of their personality and their life with their audience is going to make them more personable, going to make them more relatable, and in the end more interesting for that audience, right? So
Yeah. I feel like it's also just a way that brands can just my marketing immediately hat comes on is like how they can internet connect with individuals and make their products seem more humanistic and and more practical. Like, if you see an individual like your favorite creator like Jack, I'm going to use Jack as a reference because he's a very generally Jack Courage Dunlop. like you see Jack always using a specific like backpack to travel, or to, you know, if he's going somewhere, or, you know, you see him in the videos or something like that, right? Your impression of that backpack and that brand is gonna go significantly up. And same thing if he's drinking a specific thing, using a specific product, because people want to be like their favorite, you know, the people that they look up to, right? It's why sports brands like Nike, Puma, Adidas pour billions of dollars into the shoes. Same thing for basketball shoes, and you know why a lot of brands pour a ton of money into gaming peripherals, though, you know, making sure that, you know, Ninja's using a specific headset, you know, or these players are like, I know Logitech has put tons of money into TSM to make sure that Myth is wearing those, you know, new headsets, you know, I'm gonna butcher his name, Boilo, the what's
Bolo. Yeah.
Bolo's wearing them and all that stuff, because these kids, they look at their favorite content creator and they're like, he's has those headphones, I'm gonna get those headphones. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
always
like,
interesting.
you know, it's almost like in-person testimonials. I think it's the way that you know, previously it's like word of mouth spread like a lot of marketing. If your like neighbor told you to go buy
Mhm.
this car or go to this restaurant, you would do it. And now, since these influencers, like their audience has like a one-way personality or one-way like relationship with them, where you know they feel like they're friends of this influencer, like in real life. That way, when the influencer recommends something, or the personality recommends something, they feel like it's like a personal friend that has recommended them something. And I think that's also like a very interesting shift in the way advertising is being done in the space and in more digital focused areas, is that it needs to be more authentic and more genuine, rather than just, you know, sharing brand taglines or, you know, what your product does or putting your
Yeah.
brand out there. It's more about how do I put my brand out there in a way that feels authentic and relatable, particularly when you're working with personalities, right? Because if the personality doesn't care about your product and they don't actually like it and they don't actually use it, when they sell it to their audience, it's going to seem extremely like non-genuine, right?
Yeah.
Disingenuous. And that way, you know, when I've worked with influencers, like for example for Mountain Dew, um,
Hmm.
we look for influencers specifically that actually like our product and actually drink our product. Because if they don't, and like their fans are going to be able to see, like, yeah, this guy does like ads for this product, but I never see him drinking it on stream, or I never see him like, you know, actually finishing a can, right? So yeah, I think in that way, you know, with the way the digital world is evolving, advertising is evolving with it, right? You know,
Hmm.
before, like, I remember as a kid, I would just, you know, I'm in the car, I'm listening to the radio, there would be like a catchy jingle, and that would be like the end all be all of advertising, at least in my mind, obviously. And now there's just so much more accessibility for you know, for these brands to get connected through these influencers, through these
Yeah.
digital formats,
Yeah.
but it also comes at a cost that you have to present your brand and your advertising in a way that is actually just entertainment, right? Because they're on these platforms to be entertained. And if you come off and you just like shove just blatant like advertising in their face, they're going to be like, hold up, this is very different from what I came here for. Um, and then you're just going to tune out, right?
Yeah.
So
Catalog marketing never works on social media. If you're just posting a photo and just like, here's our product, and you're hoping that people are going to care about it, no, that's not how it works.
it's just mind blowing, because a lot of like successful brands in the gaming space, just their social media presence is like, look at this beautiful picture of our product, like look at this monitor, look at this like this headset, look at this mouse. And I'm like, that'll work for people that are just like that
Yeah.
segment that just loves technology, but that's not going to be like the majority of your consumers, right? Versus if you put out a picture with you and your product being presented by, you know, a popular influencer, or your product featured in like a piece of content, right? You know, while we're on the topic of TSM
Hmm.
and Logitech, them putting out that new headset, they did a piece of content with TSM where the Rainbow Six team was like using the headset, and they did like a little skit based on the audio of the headset, essentially just selling the product attribute of, you know, this headset being so good for hearing like small things like footsteps that are important to gamers. Like, you know, it's almost like a show not tell type of marketing, where they're showing you that this thing is actually effective and the pros use it, rather than saying, yo, our product is effective. Because like you'd much more believe a influencer or a pro player than you would believe just the brand telling you that.
Yeah, just
And
Joe
also
Schmo.
you're more receptive to like a piece of interesting content that entertains you than like, a social post or a video just stating the brand's like product attributes or like the
Yeah, yeah.
benefits of buying this product, which is like it's actually kind of cool. We've seen a lot of advertising move from like, remember the old school like esports gaming advertisements where there would be like dubstep in the background and then there like be cinematic shots of like a mouse or a headset or like a PC, and then at the end it's like buy PC.
Yeah.
We've
I
moved so far away from that, right?
I think it
It's
was
just
was it
crazy.
Razer? Razer was like known for like the EDM, like for the Razer I forgot what was it, the Naga that they had. It was like, or they had like a bulky one. No, I think it was Steel Series. Steel Series was like known for like the European dubstep music, and their mouse just like rotating, like whoa. I'm like, bro,
Gene Pro too.
yes.
No.
I actually have two because I had the double click error.
Oh yeah,
Balling
I
on
have
that
two as
agency
well.
money. Right.
Um,
Oh my
that's
god, that's so
yeah, but yeah,
funny.
getting back to the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, back then, like no hate to any of these brands because like everyone was doing it and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
was effective, right? But now it's evolved to like so many of these brands have like influencers starring and in their commercials, and recommending them, and just moving away from that. Just look at my product, buy it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought it was really interesting how you mentioned how, taglines have slowly like disappeared, And same thing with, like McDonald's went away with the I'm loving it. They stopped investing in that because they realized that when they're taking time, like people's time is the most valuable, right? Especially when it comes to online. If you're not providing value, you're not entertaining, you're not interesting, you're wasting people's time, and people are like, no, then I'm gonna find something that does that. And I think that's why when you brought up the Rainbow Six activation, it was entertaining, it was engaging. If someone's already invested 3 minutes of their time, they're still okay with investing another 3 minutes to continue watching it. Once you get them hooked past a certain point, you kind of just have them there for a good portion of time.
Yeah,
It's super interesting how that's pivoted away from jingles, from like cheesy posters and stuff like that, and it's just like, how can we as much engage ourselves without making it disruptive to annoy the users, kind of like
yeah. I
how,
think it's almost like an evolution.
you know,
Advertising is getting harder. I think effective advertising is getting harder. Um, catchy jingles. I think there's still value to having like a brand tagline. It's
yeah,
almost like a vision for your brand, right?
yeah,
Versus like, we make mice. It's or like if I was thinking about, Logitech, instead of like we make mice, it's we empower you
yeah,
to just like excel at your game, right?
yeah,
That's much more like powerful, appealing to the emotions of a consumer versus we have a nice mouse, buy it. Um, and in
yeah,
that same way, I feel like brand marketing is getting harder because the consumers, particularly digital consumers, are evolving as well. They're seeing advertising everywhere. It's annoying to them when not done correctly, and it's almost like an exchange of value, right? In exchange for their time, you need to give them some sort of value, whether it be entertainment or like a giveaway or something, right? Which is why our industry is just blown up. I feel like brand marketing in our space, affiliating with publishers, with esports,
mm,
with teams, with players, with influencers, with personalities and content creators is just such a great opportunity for brands, because not only do they get the in-person testimonials, and they get almost like a sales force of people that the audience trusts.
yeah,
It's very easy to integrate this into the organic content, right? Um, like it may seem kind of weird that like you can just like, for example, Mountain Dew, like Game Fuel, the energy drink, you can integrate it into any type of content. Like,
Yeah.
for example, we did a piece of content with LA Thieves.
Actually, people should know Tony. Part of Tony's job is that he works on the Game Fuel side and helps, because he's mentioned Mountain Dew and Pepsi a few times, and specifically Game Fuel is the area you're working, right? I don't want to. I got that right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Game Fuel is my main client on the agency side. But yeah, just going back to the
I just wanted to clarify that in case people, are confused by why you're
yeah, we should
referencing
probably
that.
include that somewhere. I feel like we got pretty off topic at the
No,
beginning.
keep going. No. This is good. This is good, man. We're not sticking to a specific script. Whatever comes is what goes.
Throw it in the
Yeah?
YouTube description, and like title or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah. It'll be in the description. It'll be in the YouTube description. They'll see it.
pretty bad.
Superstar, Rainbow Six, League of Legends. Tony, managing all these, incredibly popular brands or well-known brands. So, but yeah, we'll make
Yeah,
that.
I would say like just like if you think about, I think it wouldn't be immediately, it wouldn't immediately come to mind for like the audience, but like if I was sponsoring a content piece, I can insert my brand in so many different organic ways rather than just have it like appear as like a logo or like like a pre-roll, like an ad read, right? If someone says like an ad read is essentially where someone takes like 15-30 seconds at the beginning of their video and they just read like a script saying how good something is. Instead, I'll like put the product in front of the players and have them drink it during the content. So like if they're doing like a trivia piece, like they're answering trivia, they're doing a content piece, like these guys will drink it during the trivia. I can like put in like trivia about my brand into the content piece, like what is this player's favorite flavor of Mountain Dew Game Fuel? And that'll be so much more organic and more compelling because not only does that say this player regularly drinks it, but also they have a favorite flavor and fans of that player can go buy that flavor and try it out, right? It's almost like an indirect marketing type of thing where
Yeah.
you're just omnipresent, right? In the environment. It's almost like you're becoming endemic to the space. It's like you're becoming a product that gamers should have and should be using. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the great part about working with a lot of these teams or organizations or individuals. They usually have like a group that enables to do that. Like TSM has a content team around them to produce it. Same thing with OpTic. They do like a whole pre-show and stuff like that. Honestly, whenever I look at the OpTic gaming content, especially the pre-show stuff, and you just see all the G Fuel stuff and all not G Fuel. Oh my goodness, Game Fuel. My gosh,
all good.
Game Fuel stuff all around. You see the different. I love how they did like the little stacking of the cans, so it's like kind of looks like an artistic.
Like they put it the cases. It's like it's just like there, right? And
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
there. It's not like a sore thumb. It's not out of
yeah,
place because the product is actually valuable to these professional players, right?
yeah.
It helps them stay focused in the game, and in
And it's
that way,
delicious.
they can genuinely recommend it to their
Yeah.
audience. So
I always think back in like the early 2000s whenever, in traditional sports, you just saw the Gatorade bottle, the iconic dark blue, not blue, dark green and orange cap Gatorade bottle. Just saw it everywhere in sports. And there's like huge, it was massively popular amongst like high schoolers, middle schoolers to get the Gatorade bottle because they want to be like them, And it's the same
yeah, I
case.
mean, I saw the green Gatorade bottle everywhere. The squeeze bottle,
Yeah. Oh
every
my
single kid had it.
dude, it was a menace in middle school because people would like pour water and then they shoot it at you because it would be propelled at you. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, you want to kind of talk a little bit about your experience going from. I know you mentioned you went from being on the team side to the brand side. What was that jump for you, or like that transition for you, where you're like, snap, I need a I'm trying to get these sponsors to come in and these brands to come in, and and now I am the brands trying, going in and making those decisions. And then I would love to know, were you on the Nissan side? You're on the Nissan side for both OpTic, on the OpTic still being in the Nissan partnership with OpTic, where Nissan came in, but then you were also on the other side at the same time, right? Later on, right? Or no? Am I
Yeah, it's
getting
very
that?
interesting. First off, it's a very eye-opening
Yeah.
experience to be on like each side of the aisle there, um, each side of the table rather,
Yeah, it's a
because
table.
on the content side you see the struggles and the realities of having to manage players, having to have them um, present the product and create like an engaging content piece around it, and um in the same way sticking to like brand guidelines and making sure that everyone is happy. There's struggles there, because to be honest, a lot of players and personalities, particularly in the gaming space, are not very good at acting or
No, they're not. They're
content. So you have to like create it in a way like it's really interesting, because you would think that the content team and certain content teams do help do this, but you would think that the content teams comes up with all these like sponsored content ideas, and that's just sometimes it's just not true. Like it's up to the person who's doing the sponsorships to come up with these ideas to sell into the brand, because that's how you get the initial dollars to fund your content. Um, and that's something I was honestly not prepared for when I first got into the sales side on OpTic. Is I didn't know that I needed to make the content ideas. I thought I would just like pitch it to the brand, and then sell in sponsorships and manage them. But I was so much more involved in like in social media. I was helping create social copy, and I was helping create content ideas, and I was helping um, recommend edits to videos, and discussing the strategy of how we put out these contents, because I was the one in the organization that knew the most about the brand, right?
yeah. And
Whereas people who are on the content side and the
mhm.
social media side and the marketing side, like their job is to worry about like the team brand or the influencers brand or the content, and like the like how entertaining the content is.
Mhm.
So in a way, you are like a core piece of that equation, and without you, the content team probably doesn't have the guidance to create something that makes the brand happy and makes like effective marketing piece, right?
Yeah.
Um, Kind of just continuing on that piece, when you go over to the brand side, you start to see like the feedback and the things that are effective for brands, because when you're on the team side, you interact, for those who are not familiar, when you do a deal, sometimes the team sales team will connect directly with the brand, and they'll do a deal that way. But in a lot of situations, there's an agency in the middle that manages for the brand. So I am now in that situation where I'm in the middle, and now I see kind of like both worlds. Like I understand the difficulties for the team, so like when I get like a content piece or something's a little weird, I'm like, yeah, that's probably not the sales team fault. It's just like kind of hard. And then we brainstorm creative ways to um, make that advertising more effective. And I'm able to do that because I understand their struggles. But also now I'm in the brand side, I understand the demands of these brands, and now I'm even closer to like key stakeholders on that brand side, because essentially the brand pays us to go and manage these campaigns and find these partners. So we're in the middle and we're responsible for both parts of that relationship. So
Yeah.
I know you were trying to say something, so I'll let you get to that.
No,
But
yeah, I was gonna say, just so some individuals know some of the context behind when you were at OpTic, you were also managing a lot of the Outlaws relationships as well. So it was the big T-Mobile, as well as Turtle Beach. These were brands that were heavily engaged with both OpTic and the Outlaws, and Tony played a key role in like getting that set up, getting that rolling, making sure everything was delivered. I know, Tony mentioned he like you were playing you had so many hats. You had to help with videos, making sure that they were turning out, that they were good. You're coming up with activations like we did the Outlaws floral exclusive hoodie that people, T-Mobile customers were able to get in, and that was like super successful. People really loved that, and it's super interesting. Like you said, it was interesting. You were on one side of the table, then you flipped over to the other, and you had this like whoa, this is how I can help and understand and get everything moving and flowing a lot better. Would you say that it would have been harder for you if you just, went right into the agency side without the previous brand experience?
Oh yeah, without the team experience, without doubt, because like when you're from the agency side, you don't really understand how a team works. It's almost like a black box. You're like, I put in dollars and I expect to get like amazing content out of it, right? Whereas when you're on the team side, you understand the realities and the processes that
Yeah.
go behind making this content, and that's not only for teams but also for influencers, for personalities, and you understand like there's a process, and every single piece of that process, it needs to be executed to a certain way, or else the end product isn't going to come out the right way, right? You have to have like a really good plan going into it. You have to understand your objectives, both from an entertainment perspective, but also from like a brand marketing perspective. So, for example, like your primary objective on the entertainment side may be to create like a very engaging content piece around like a certain individual or a certain team, but you have to like be able to understand those secondary brand objectives, like show, drink the can, drink the
Yeah.
product during the shoot, or show off like the mouse, show off the headset, and have the guys talk about it in a authentic way during the content piece, right? And those things often get lost in translation when you're either on one side or the other, right? And in the same way, when you're on the team side and you have no clue what's going on the brand side, you might wonder like, okay, so I'm gonna create this content piece, and as long as it's entertaining and it's cool, then I'm gonna want to put it out, and I think it's really successful. Whereas I on the brand side might take a look at it and say, there's not enough product integration, or your players don't talk about our brand enough, so there's not really like, it's not as compelling of an advertisement as it could be. So it almost just like removes that like layer of mystery for me, so I understand the entire process, right? It's almost
Yeah.
like you're building like a car from scratch. If you're only on the manufacturing side, where you get these like parts and you put them together, you understand how to put together a car from the parts, but you don't understand the process that goes into making those parts, like taking like literally just like unrefined like raw materials and making it into like the plastics and the metals, and then you making the plastics and the metals into like a car door or a steering
Mm.
wheel or an engine. You understand how, like on the brand side, like it's almost like you're a part of that manufacturing process, right? And now that I've gotten experience on both sides, it's no longer a mystery, and that way it allows me to be more effective in tackling any preparation ahead of time from both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where people that aren't aware, or they're coming into the space or something like that, or they're getting just started, they think it's like brand hands, team dollars, team does things, and then that's it. There's like, no, there's this
It's not like not like A to B. It's like A to B to C to D. Like there's like, it's like almost like a fucking like loop, and then like send the content to the brand, and then they want to like review it,
Yeah.
and then they might have some notes, and you have to re-edit it, and then you have to like agree on the social copy, and it's like there's so many things that go into these content pieces, and even just like a simple social post that isn't visible to the audience, right? And that's why sometimes you'll see like social posts about brands and things that just kind of fall flat, because the people who are working on that campaign don't understand what goes into it, right? Like sometimes I think like, without naming any brands, my biggest pet peeve is when brands spend a lot of money like sponsoring a like an esports like a series or a tournament,
Mm-hmm.
like the LCS or the Overwatch League, and then they'll go and play like their like TV commercial that's meant for normies on the broadcast. I'm like, guys, you spent millions and millions of dollars on this sponsorship so that you could run these ads in the middle of Call of Duty League, in the middle of LCS, in the middle of Overwatch League, and you picked like your ad that was meant for like middle-aged men into the commercial. like on the broadcast, like
Yeah.
just spend some extra money and make a ad with gamers in it,
Yeah.
with the personalities that the fans care about in the advertisement, and you're gonna do so much better, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And it's that
and we actually did
authenticity.
that in
Yeah.
our recent advertisement last year for Call of Duty League. We wanted to create an advertisement for the broadcast, and instead of using like our general CGI like high tech advertisement that was meant for like mainstream audiences, we went and like filmed a piece directed by Hector Hex that included like players from all of our partner teams, and that went viral in the Call of Duty space. Like anytime it appeared on the broadcast, there was a moment where one of the players says to the other, "Yo, Tommy, we gotta go," and then he grabs a can of the product and he goes.
Mm.
Like every single time the ad played on the broadcast, everyone in the chat was like, "Yo, Tommy, yo, Tommy, yo, Tommy," and it would just spam the chat. And
That's
that
the
way,
best.
that people don't feel like that's a waste of their like 15 seconds or their 30 seconds. Because like, let's be honest, like when you see like a 15-second or a 30-second ad that you can't skip and it just like takes up your time, you get pretty mad. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want my 30 seconds back.
I want my 30
15
seconds back, man.
dude, like, and that's where I feel like the brand marketing is kind of evolving, right? There's brands who are savvy and smart are starting to understand, like, if you spend like X amount of dollars on an advertisement or something like that, it's quality over quantity. Because you can get that, use that same 30 seconds or 15 seconds of someone's time, and you can create like a memorable impression rather than just say, in the back of their mind, create like an association between your brand and being annoying, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you can spend money and get like a negative effect out of it if you're not doing it right, or you can spend money and get like a very positive effect if you make the right investments and do it in a proper way.
Yeah, it's all about, how you're and this is the part where a lot of people, when they're like, hey, how, what do you do as a job and stuff like that, and it's all this like stuff that you're managing, you're coming up with, you're strategizing, you're negotiating, you're planning out, and especially in your situation, you got to work with a brand and a co-partner that the money's being funneled into, right? And getting that to a point where it's actually like people enjoy, like you were talking about I believe it was the Tommy, was Zuma in it? I can't remember who.
Yeah, that was Zuma
Right.
and Attach.
Zuma and Attached were in it, and I remember because our agency covers the social media aspect of Call of Duty League, so we spent a ton of time watching COD League. And I remember you guys had the general TV ads for Game Fuel, and then you guys had that one, and people love that one. It was, people were memeing about it, like you said, with the Tommy, let's
We
go.
were getting so much value on like Reddit and Twitter of people posting like our advertisement. Like,
Yeah.
in what world do people like post advertisements for you online and then like fans engage with it for fun? Like, if you think about it from like a perspective, like a brand marketing perspective, that just sounds crazy to people who like
that's
like radio jingles and like ads on TV. And it's almost like, the Jake from State Farm type of thing, except it's in gaming, right? It's like people will give you added value to your advertisement. Like you're not paying for that, and that's where the truly like great activations and advertisement and contents live, is in a world where you're paying to either run it or like post that content to like a partner's Twitter or YouTube, but you're getting so much amplification from the fans who are like turning your advertisement into like a GIF, into reaction, into like a meme. And every single time that someone mentions it on social media and you get like 100,000 people looking at it or like 10,000 people looking at it, it's just so much value you're accumulating because you took the time and the effort to understand the audience that you're marketing to, and you created something that added value to their entertainment experience.
Yeah, and when when that's something that you just can't buy too. When it's that authentic and it's that embedded in the community, there's no market. You can't position. I mean, you can with ads and stuff like that, but people like, especially gamers, I feel like we have like a bullshit filter on like we see the Reddit ads, we know the Twitter ads, like we see it, we see the promoted, obviously because it's you have to disclose it if it's an ad, you know. But the organic stuff, man, that's when, you know, like you said, when people are taking your video piece and they're making a meme out of it or stuff like that, it's just the value is insane. And, you know, that's where you really reap the benefits and rewards. And it differentiates, you know, and why it's really important to when brands do invest in gaming. I feel like a lot of brands, they come into gaming and esports, they do their normal TV traditional thing, they get burnt, they don't get the value, and then they're like, you know what, this is worthless, this is not worth my time. But then you have brands like Game Fuel that come in, you know, they understand, they have a team that is backing them, right, that understands that they enter the market and they enter in strong with specific partners and activations, and then they see success, and then they're like, wow, this is great, you know, and they reap the rewards. Why I really want to hold more conversations with people about this is people don't understand how much time and manpower goes into these things and how many people are involved, you know. There's such a perception that, you know, when you enter in gaming, right, you have to either work on the esports side, or like when people think of the esports side of things, they think of like, oh, I have to work with the players, I have to be a team manager, I have to be a social media manager, I can, like, they don't understand that you can work with brands and also be in the space. And obviously now that's a lot easier than it was not 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Now it's more prominent, right? But, you know, a lot of people that are looking where can I start, I don't want to really work for a team, especially because teams are notorious, not to bash any teams, but most teams don't pay, the salaries.
I mean, it's not a stable ecosystem when you work for a team, right?
Yeah. Also, you just don't know, you can be a mid-tier team and suddenly, the VC fund just, gets pulled right out from you. And then what? You're first on the chopping block.
That hasn't happened to anyone here. No.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely not us, right? Also, cool point that when you were talking about your initial your commercial for CDL, I didn't realize that Hector actually directed it. That's such a cool thing that I didn't realize.
It's actually a great help, because like the players are more comfortable working with him than like a traditional director. Like, there was a director on the piece, like, managing like the logistics and the filming and all that. But Hector was the one who helped us create the content and the script for the piece. And that's why it hit, because the audience knows we're investing directly into the Call of Duty space, investing in the personalities they care about, and like creating opportunities, right? And in that way, we're not just like trading dollars for advertising. We're actively creating opportunities for the players and the personalities in their space that they care about. So
yeah, I feel like then they're more actually invested in you, like as the individual. Like they actually like, oh wow, they're creating an experience, they're allowing me to do like me instead of telling me what to do. Like they're working with you, not for you. And I think that's a big misconception that a lot of brands are like, oh well, we'll just pay them some money and they'll do what we say. And then you get really bad ads, like you said, the boomer ads that's supposed to be on TV.
I like there. I don't call out brands. It's just part of my job. But dude, when I saw that ad over and over and over, I'm like, oh my god, you're spending so much money to look like a boomer.
And that's the thing too, that a lot of these ads, people need to realize that if you're creating an ad and you want to strategize that it works well on on a broadcast, it works on social, it works on vertical for like TikTok and Instagram stories, and then it works for like a pre-roll on YouTube. And one of the things that we've experienced working with a few brands is like that process of getting that communication and getting that content is a lot trickier than it looks, because you have a bunch of reshoots, you have to take it's a big
the crazy thing is, the shorter the content piece, the more everything has to be perfect, right?
Yes.
If it's 15 seconds, if you only get like the standard advertisement is there's like 6 seconds, there's 15 seconds, and there's 30 seconds, and the shorter time you get, the more perfect it needs to be, because you need to like communicate so many different things in that short period of time.
Yeah.
So like a longer content piece, like a 10-15 minute content piece, can be like, there's more room to like I don't want to say make mistakes, but like there's more room for other stuff. Whereas like the shorter you get, the more tactical you have to be, and careful you have to be with how you use that time.
Yeah. So we're hitting about a little bit over an hour. So what I'll just like kind of like we'll kind of like start like ending it, and I'm gonna cut this a little bit, but what's coming up for you next, Tony? Like, what are you doing? I know you're still at home in Michigan. What are you doing? Moving to New York to be with your team and all that, or are you staying in Michigan for at least a little bit longer? What's like next on the horizon for you, also like career wise or work wise or personal?
Yeah.
Other than
I'm
destroying kids in Valorant.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna stay here until like 2022. I think that's when it probably makes a little more sense, because I'm paying like $2,000 a month in rent right now in New York for my apartment, and my lease actually ends next month. So I'm probably gonna drop that lease for like the 7 or so months, and then reevaluate once we get into 2022. I think from a career perspective, we're actually seeing incredible growth on the brand agency side, because most brands don't have the bandwidth, or it doesn't even make sense for them to like hire a gaming team, because there are agencies out there that do it better, and there's not enough work for a brand if they're only getting involved in like 1 or 2 campaigns, right? So there's so many different brands that are coming to us. Like I would say most recently, like Boston Beer, which is Twisted Tea and Truly, like they were never in esports and gaming before, never.
Yeah,
And
this is
because because our agency like connected with them and got them excited about this and showed them great results, now they are like very much heavily investing in the space. Like you saw the recent partnership with 100 Thieves. That really stemmed from like a test, right? A lot of these brands, the way they get into the space is they do like a little test, and then if it's successful, then next year the big budgets start coming in. So we did a test with Nick Merckx, Swag, Courage, and Cloaksy, do like a campaign for Twisted Tea, and that did really, really well.
Yeah.
So now this year they've invested significantly more on both Twisted Tea and the Truly side, to get into the space. So like, long story short, on the career side, I'm really enjoying being on the brand side. I think it's interesting to level up the space, right? In the end, a lot of us got into esports space not for the dollars, but for the passion, and being able to contribute to something that is so important to us. And in that same way, I feel like we're adding value. We're creating opportunities for teams, influencers, publishers, esports, by bringing in these brand dollars. And also, we are minimizing the amount of like cringe content that gets out there, and creating like actual value for the people that watch these influencers, the people that watch these teams, the people that watch these esports. So in a way, it feels weird. It's not like glorious, like being part of like an esports team or anything. But it is a part of that ecosystem, a very important part of that ecosystem. If you look at traditional sports, how important like advertising and brands are, in that same way, it's going to be a more and more important part of the gaming and esports ecosystem. So
that's big.
I think
I mean,
probably a good wrap.
No, that's a great way to wrap it up, and I think it's just great because what's gonna happen is now White Claw, Corona seltzers, Bud Light seltzers, they're all looking at what Truly's in, and they're like, well, looks like we got to do something too, or like,
dude, it's like a perfect domino effect, right?
Yeah.
Because one brand in a category, like previously, like the only advertisements you would see in gaming and esports were things that like were directly used by gamers, like mice, headsets, keyboards, PCs. And then now you're starting to see that branch out into other categories, right? Like 5 years ago, would you see like an insurance company getting involved in esports? Probably not. Would you see a beer company getting involved in gaming and esports? Probably not. And these new categories are opening up because they realize that gamers don't only purchase mice and keyboards and computers.
Dude. Yeah.
Gamers are people too. They purchase alcohol, they purchase beverages, they buy car insurance.
They buy cars, dude.
They're like in the market for like a home like loan, you know, like
Yeah.
things like Rocket Mortgage, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just great to see you know, all this additional opportunities open up in the gaming space because you know, people realize that the audience is valuable.
Yeah, when you talk about domino effect, I always think to the what Nissan and some other car brands did is they entered the space and now they're like rooted, and now you see BMW, Mercedes, Honda, and now even Cadillac. Cadillac of all the brands.
Dude, I know, right?
When I saw that partnership announcement with TSM, I had to take a double take because I just couldn't believe. I'm like, what is Cadillac doing with it? But that's great.
Like, it's crazy, just never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's so great to see the money being poured into esports and gaming, because it's once you understand like the passion that people have for the competitive side, for the content creation side, for the lifestyle, like it's incredibly cool, and it's so cool to see that transition and being a part of that. And like you mentioned, like where you guys were able to do with Boston Brewing Company, is that the right way to say it? Boston Beer Company, like that's going to change now the way that segment of the industry is perceived. You're going to see more people come in. You're going to see more money poured in. More people are going to get more opportunities. Teams are going to get a lot of value. What do you call it? Leagues, you know, creators, a lot of great value, a lot of great money is going to get passed around. And the industry as a whole then grows, which is such a awesome part to be a part of. And, you know, being a part of that history, you know? So it's like back in the day when people realized that sports marketing is a good way to promote stuff, you know? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we're on the forefront.
Cool. So
I'm just happy to be
here. yeah, my last thing that I want you to do, Tony, because I want to provide an opportunity for people, you know, in 5 years to do like a Gary Vaynerchuk kind of thing, where it's like you make your bold claim prediction on this show, and then you know later down the line in 5 years, you're like, look, I called it, you know, credits here. Look at that, I made the statement. So what's your bold prediction for gaming esports for 2022 and beyond?
That's tough.
I know.
It could be. I wish I had more time to prepare for this. I know you sent this over, but
it's okay. We can edit this like lull out. So we'll just like boom, we'll jump right in.
Jeez. That is. See, it's really tough to come up with a bold prediction without offending anyone.
Okay.
And in our world where you work with so many people across the board, it's just so tough to create like any bold takes or any hot takes without offending anyone, because our job is to work with everyone. So we don't want to.
Yes. If you want to switch it up, you can do something that you're hopeful that we'll see in 2020. You know, in the industry.
Bold predictions.
Could be even like, you know, Valorant's going to be a tier 1 esport or something like that.
That's not a bold prediction though. Let's be honest, that's not a bold prediction.
That's true.
God, it's not even like a bold prediction.
It could be anything, any claim. Don't think about the bold.
I would say creators are going to start becoming so much more important than esports teams, and just the esports space when younger people look at what is gaming and what is esports and what they're interested in. Because I think right now you're seeing like a generational shift where our generation was like very interested in competitive games, and the younger generation is just more interested in like vibes, you know? So like they're interested in games like Among Us, like Minecraft, like Roblox, that aren't competitive. They're just like, you know, you just vibe. And I think gaming as a whole is going to get a lot less competitive, a lot more casual. And I think that's a good thing, because it means that we've permeated the mainstream significantly more than before. Because, you know, let's be honest, not everyone wants to be competitive. Like a lot, like if you look at like the way most people engage with sports, it's when they, particularly when they play sports, it's on a more casual level, right? Or like a semi-competitive level, like a rec league. And I think you're going to start seeing that more in gaming. There's going to be less, you know, StarCrafts, less League of Legends, less, you know, Counter-Strikes, and you're going to see more games that are just about the vibes, you know? And I think that's a great thing. Because, you know, we could all use a little more vibes.
Awesome.
In the life.
Dude, trust me, we need more vibe games and less desk smashing games, you know, than Site Rage.
You know, it's just like you need games that are like a positive experience no
Yeah.
matter what, right? And
Mm.
honestly, like a lot of the top esports games right now, it's like, you know, if you're on the losing side, very often it's a not a positive experience.
It's not a
It's like
fun gaming.
almost like you're there to chase the highs rather than just like get like a solid like vibe going throughout the entire game session, right? So yeah, I think that's my like. It's not necessarily like a bold prediction, but it is a prediction.
I like it. I like it. You love to hear. All right, Tony, how can people find you? You know, what's the best way to connect with you if people are interested in learning, you know, talking to you or just connecting with you? What's the best way people can find you? I'll drop
Yeah.
all your links in the description, by the way. And actually, they'll be on screen too because we have like a little window and we'll have one.
Okay, that
So,
makes it easy.
yeah.
I would say the social media platform that I use most is Twitter. I just honestly don't have a ton of time to be engaging on social media, but my DMs are open if you ever want to chat. I always enjoy talking to younger people, especially people like, aspiring to be in this industry, because you know I think that's what we need, right? We need people who are interested in this industry, are passionate, who can add more value to the space, not only you know in like ways that are glamorous by being like a content creator or being a pro player, but also just in the background, like doing the things that support these the ecosystem that makes it possible. You know, like working in marketing or working in sales and finance in other business related careers. I think there's just so much out there for younger people in this space that they're not seeing because they're focused on like being cracked or getting clout or getting recruited that
Getting
they don't see
recruited.
these opportunities, right? So yeah, I think you know you can connect with me on at my Twitter, 1DLOL, and I think that's probably the best way to reach me.
Awesome. Thank you, man. It's been a blast catching up with you, talking, getting your insight and all that fun stuff. Yeah, you guys can connect with Tony at the Twitter link. All of his stuff will be down below. Primarily his LinkedIn and his Twitter will be down below. I don't think he wants his Instagram linked because he's got nothing there.
I use Instagram. I don't use it at all.
I don't blame you. It's such a
honestly, I barely use LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is kind of like a
smell your own fart kind of thing place.
it's like a boomer platform.
No, I don't mind LinkedIn. I think it's okay. It's all about who you add and all that fun stuff. Anyways, Tony, it's a blast. Hopefully the next time we do this, it'll be in person and all that good stuff, man. Thank you for coming on. All that good stuff. Any last words?
It was my first real podcast opportunity. So apologies to the viewers if we ever rambled or got off topic, but this was fun and I hope to do more in the future.
Awesome, mate. All right, cool. Thanks everyone for watching.